mine.
Okay,
Bye.
okay, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Give us just a moment as everyone from the waiting room enters today. Still got people filtering in. Couple more. Well, it looks like they just continue to filter in. So we're going to go ahead and get started and allow them to filter on in as they come. We're just thankful that you all are here today. We appreciate your being with us. We considered postponing our December call, but there's so much going on that we thought we might need to do an update to prepare you for 2026. We have a lot of things coming, and there's lots happening in the world of real estate and other places that are affecting the world of real estate that we think that you need to know about. So we appreciate your being here, and we really appreciate the Home Depot Pro as our sponsor. They're our broadcast sponsor for all of the REIA Now calls. And we appreciate their partnership and the great benefits that you can get via your local REIA group through the partnership with them. It includes special programs for investors, discounts on 20% off paint, rebates, and other exclusive programs that we have. If you're interested in finding out more about this program, you can do that through your local group. And if you need to find a local group, you can go to the National Real Estate Investors Association, just at nationalrea.org. You can click on the I'm an investor and then click here for the Find a Local REIA. Really quickly, though, I want to thank our guests that are here with us today. We're going to have some quick legislative updates with Kevin Coughlin, and then we're going to get a lot of information and updates with our special guest, Jeff Watson. Most of you know him both as the work that he does for lots of different groups within the industry, and he is our special counsel to help us stay informed. Just a quick notice, we will be talking about some things that have financial implications today, but we are not your financial advisors. So we suggest that you have a financial advisor, a CPA, and others as your team grows and you need those, as well as having your own attorney to be able to run any of these concepts past them and how it applies to your own business. Our mission here is to promote, protect, and educate, and we've been doing so for a very long time. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary. So we've been here for assisting real estate investors for 40 years now. We've had over 120 local chapters, over 40,000 members across the U.S., and we are all together working in this wonderful industry. I will now turn it over to Kevin to give us a quick legislative update. Kevin, you're on mute.
Okay, there we go. I assume Jeff is talking about seller finance a bit today. Is that correct? All right. So I'll lay off that.
After our meeting yesterday, yeah, you'll let me do
Yeah,
that. Thank you.
except to say that we're hopeful for movement.
Yes.
We're hopeful for movement in the first half of next year, and it's going to take all hands on deck. We're up against big bad mortgage banking community that doesn't want to participate or help or be helpful in any way, and we're just going to need to power it through. Look, most of the state legislatures have gone home for the holiday. Congress is still piddling around a little bit, but for the most part, they're done for this year as far as meaningful work goes. They'll reload. There'll be another fiscal cliff at the end of January, and we will be going through all of this again. It is possible that there will be another shutdown, but I don't think that went very well for either party, especially the Democrats, and so I'm not sure what their appetite will be for that. But I can tell you that one of the things that we are definitely keeping an eye on right now in the states is the fight for property tax repeal and relief. There are at least 7 states right now that, in some form, are looking to do major property tax relief. In the case of Florida and Ohio, there are efforts to go on the ballot to completely repeal the property tax. In others, it is maybe not quite as radical as that. Um, in Ohio, that has set off a flurry of legislative activity to try to discourage that ballot amendment by doing a series of bills that are intended to provide property tax relief almost exclusively for owner-occupied properties. And that is the red flag I'm going to raise for all of you. If you are in one of the states that is examining property tax reform, you need to be organized in your state capital. And if you don't have the infrastructure to do that on your own, partner with your apartment association or somebody. Because what is likely to happen is what just happened last week in Ohio, in one of, I think, many hits that could potentially happen, is that property tax relief is given to occupied owner-occupied property at the expense of investment property. In Ohio, they actually raised, in a bill, they raised the property tax on investment properties up to 3 doors by 10% by shifting over the property tax relief that investors enjoyed to owner-occupied property. We're working with the governor to try to get him to veto it. We don't know if that's going to happen. It's an open question still. So if you are so inclined, even if you're not in Ohio, go to Voter Voice. I believe we have it set up there where you can communicate with Governor Mike DeWine and urge him to veto this bill. And what we're saying is no one's opposed to property tax relief. We all want it, but it shouldn't be on the backs of renters, which is exactly what's going to happen. And it doesn't do anything to solve the scarcity issue, and it doesn't solve anything to solve affordability of housing as a whole. So I'd ask you to go and take a look at that and hopefully give us a hand there. But the reason I bring that up is because when these push and pull discussions happen in your state capitals about, okay, how do we replace the revenue that we're losing if we are giving property tax relief, they're going to find other people to throw it on. And likely you will be part of that. So I would make sure that you are engaged, that you're ready to respond, that you're ready to take the message of investors and your renters to those who serve in state government. I'm going to leave it there and turn it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. It always is fun to just work with you. It really is. And I'm going to start out by saying that there's a project that this is how you and I became friends. And this was Rebecca's brainchild. This was something that occurred 10 to 12 years ago. And this is how Kevin and I really got to know each other, was working with the Ohio Division of Real Estate and recording a video regarding wholesaling. And that video has had a life of its own in many different ways. And it is still one of the most watched videos on wholesaling in the United States of America. I don't know if people know it or not, but that video was of such quality that Kevin's organized and National REIA helped produce, that the state of Ohio Division of Real Estate uses it for ongoing continuing ed for all real estate agents in the state of Ohio, still to this day. Well,
I'm still waiting for my royalties on that. I look at the mailbox every day, Jeff, looking for that mailbox money from real estate division, and no.
We're still waiting for it, man. I haven't, yeah. But anyhow, we've now had the opportunity to see now we have the opportunity for version 2.0, because the state of Ohio has done what many other states have done. And they have enacted legislation. Governor DeWine signed it earlier this month. We've referred to it as Bill 155, where it makes a substantial change in the law in the state of Ohio regarding wholesaling. And I, for one, am jubilant. I am jubilant because it requires disclosure, that a person who is wholesaling a property must disclose in writing before presenting and executing this purchase and sales agreement, before the contract is signed. They must disclose in writing and have this owner occupant, the owner seller sign acknowledging that, hey, I may be wholesaling this property. I may be assigning it. You may be closing with somebody other than me, and a few other things. Now, they put a three-tier punishment ring on this thing, which makes it a little interesting. I'm just going to read, I'm going to rate them in severity. The least mild is you could lose your earnest money. Okay. The seller could cancel the contract and keep the earnest money. That's the least. Second level is you could face enforcement action from the division, our division of real estate. But the third one is the one that everybody needs to pay attention to. And this is the first time I've seen this now. It is labeled as a Deceptive Sales Practices Act and subjects you to the Attorney General's office, the Ohio Attorney General's office, coming after you and seeking both attorney's fees and double or treble damages. And it's the attorney's fees portion that will get some of these uneducated, uninformed, untrained YouTube University, Instagram student. I saw it on Facebook people. And so we're going to put some effort into this. I'm sure that the National REIA is going to be reaching out to the Ohio division and see if we can do a 2.0 version of the video. But folks, you've got to be paying attention to this. Now, you're like, Jeff, well, you're talking about Ohio. I'm telling you, folks, there is a national trend. These bills are getting tighter. We saw it start in Illinois, then it hopscotched around a little bit, went out to Oklahoma. We've seen stuff in South Carolina. We've seen it in a few other. Wow, folks, if you haven't figured it out, this is not a red state, blue state thing. This is an all state thing. Okay? This is the National Association of Realtors. This is a bunch of consumer organizations that are tired of the way treating consumers, tying up properties and not closing on them. So that is a big, big thing. Now, once again, National REIA has been on the front of this. We can't, and I've had conversations with the council of the Ohio division, and they're like, Jeff, we can't tell anybody what we think of the bill. We can't tell. We'll just enforce it if they pass it. And I'm like, I appreciate it. Appreciate your honesty. Thank you. But that's where we are. And I mean, something had to happen. Now, do I think that I think this could be a little draconian if you're not careful. This one could really hurt you. The division was reasonable. Losing your earnest money, $500, $1,000, that's going to sting. But yeah, but Deceptive Sales Practices Act with attorney's fees and treble damages, that could bite somebody. That could really bite somebody. So be careful. If you know of anybody wholesaling in the state of Ohio, please warn them. If you know anybody who's wholesaling anywhere, because we got so many people that want a virtual wholesale, please make sure that they're aware that many states now have laws on the book regarding wholesaling. Okay.
And Jeff, let me jump in really
Please.
quickly. As Jeff said, we have been trying to work on this for a very long time. We actually went to the regional governments to try to get them to show us where all of the wholesaling laws were ahead of all of this so that we could monitor any of the changes. And that was not something, Kevin worked really hard on that. That was not something that we were able to make happen. So with Jeff and Kevin's help, we are still going forward with the Wholesale Resource Center. We hope to have that by the end of the first quarter. It will be as complete as we can, and with all kinds of disclaimers stamped all over it that we're doing the best we can to find the laws. If you specifically know where your law exists in your code, please send me the specific code so that we can reference that appropriately. And then Jeff will also be doing some education that we will build around that so that people better understand, because our belief is that they're getting really poor information, as Jeff said, from Internet University, in how to really do a wholesale deal. And we want to protect our people. So that is a project that is very much on the table and working its way forward. It is a much larger project than we ever assumed it would be. As Jeff said, it's been almost 10 years trying to get this together, and we've just given up in trying to get cooperation. And we're just going to do the best that we can alone so that you at least have some degree of information available.
So I'm gonna follow up with this one comment, and then we can transition to whatever topic you want to cover next. Several years ago, I had a conversation with lead counsel for the I Division of Real Estate, and she just looked at me and she said, I don't remember where we were. She just looked at me and she said, if your people, referring to the investors that I represent, she said, if your people would just buy the property, just close on the property, then do whatever they want to the next day, we wouldn't care. If they would just buy the property, pay for it, close on it, do whatever they want to the next day, we wouldn't care. We wouldn't pay attention. And the way this law is passed in the state of Ohio, it's exactly that. If you can close, pay cash, and do as your advertising said, if you say I buy houses, if you say I pay cash, if you say I close quickly, then just do it, what you said you're doing in your advertising, and this law doesn't apply to you, and you will rise as cream above everybody else, and you won't have an issue.
So stay tuned as we monitor that. As Jeff said, the legislation is passing in other areas. They're all just a little bit enough different that there's no blanket statement, but we are trying to make sure that you have the resources available on that. Also on the horizon, I'm hearkening back to 2004, I think, Jeff. We were talking about some subject two that's concerns that are creeping back in. It was a huge big deal in 2004. We made major legislative efforts. I remember spending 6 months of that year doing nothing but trying to pull people together and rally the troops around that issue. And it has remained by and large on the back burner. I mean, it kind of creeps up, but as I understand it, there's a huge movement to bring that back as a concern legislatively again. Can you tell us more about where we are with that?
Yeah, well, we've got two issues regarding subject two. There is ongoing litigation in the state of Arizona, where the Arizona Attorney General has filed a lawsuit against real estate investors, title companies, and attorneys, arguing that subject to transactions are inherently illegal. Think that one out, folks. Inherently illegal. That's obviously something that I don't agree with. But I'm not in Arizona, and I'm not licensed in Arizona, and none of my clients got named in that lawsuit. So I'm sitting on the sidelines, and I've had conversations with a couple of the attorneys that have been named, and that's it. So the second thing that's going on, and this is far more concerning, and I have to be careful because I have signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I have to be careful, but I can tell you that there is a very well-known, well-established technology company that does a lot of work for Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, etc. They have been tasked with creating AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, to go read through the hundreds of thousands of mortgages that are out there, looking for subject to deals that have been completed by investors. And what they're looking for, and I can tell you the two things they're looking for, and this comes right out of Social Media University 1.0. If you put the property into a trust, and if you sent the lender, the servicer, a durable power of attorney, those are the two red flags that when they see that, they will then go do an audit on the file. And if they find that there is been a transfer of ownership without the payment in full, they're going to call the loan due. That's simple. I can't tell you more, except this is a tool that we all know AI is here to stay. We all know that AI is as lousy as it's ever going to be, and it's getting better every day. And we know AI has the ability to go through hundreds of thousands of mortgages per day. So do not think that because you did it a few years ago, you're going to be fine. That's what they're looking for. And when they find it, they're going after it. They're going to go call it due. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to be a problem. So if you haven't adjusted your business model, then you better figure something out. And there are ways to do it. There's ways to adjust your business model. So we'll leave it at that. Rebecca, I know there's some other topics that we wanted to cover about as well, too.
Well, let's jump to something actually fun. Good news. Can we have just a tiny bit of good news in all of this? Let's talk about, as Kevin said, seller financing looks like it is finally it's going to move.
I'm going to talk about that. Yeah. So National REIA has been one of the lead members of the Seller Finance Coalition. The originator of the Seller Finance Coalition is a gentleman by the name of Eddie Speed, who's been a friend in Note School for a long time. Earlier this year, Eddie Speed and I were on a call with Congressman Andy Barr out of Kentucky. And I'll tell you exactly the date of the call. Whatever date Congress was up all night passing the one big beautiful bill. The morning after that bill passed, Andy Barr, Eddie Speed, Jeff Watson, and representatives of the mortgage banking industry were on a call. And Congressman Barr said, I'm looking at the data from the Seller Finance Coalition showing how many homeowners have been left behind, how many potential homeowners have been closed out over the last 6 years by the way you've changed your underwriting standards. Only half as many people can buy a house today as could 6 years ago. What are you doing about that? Mortgage bankers were quiet. Then he said, you've read this bill. What is your specific concern with this bill? And that flat out came that they said, your competition. And Congressman Barr came back and said, no, real estate investors are not competition. They're serving a gap you've left behind. They're filling the void you created. So the mortgage banking industry got put on notice by Andy Barr that he's going forward with the bill. Of course, then we rolled right into the government assurances again. Our lobbyist, Matt Coughlin, has been assured face-to-face with Andy Barr and with Congressman Vicente Gonzalez. So it's a bipartisan bill. It's going to be dropped again. It's going to be reintroduced, and we are going to have that bill reintroduced. And when that happens, there will be a call to action. There will be a very clear call to action using voter voice, or encouraging every one of you to click on the link that comes from National REIA, to copy, paste, personalize, and send emails to your member of Congress asking them to co-sponsor and support this bill. Because if we can get a burst of co-sponsorship, if we can get a burst of activity, it will help Congressman Barr have much easier ability to clear this bill out of the subcommittee that he chairs. So one thing I forgot to mention is Andy Barr has worked his way up in leadership to where he co-chairs, or he chairs the subcommittee that has jurisdiction over this subject. And he's already spoken with the chairman of Financial Services, French Hill, and French Hill has green-lighted this as well. So we're going to see this bill make progress like never before. Ted Budd, who is a former member of Congress, now a North Carolina senator, is being approached about putting this companion version in the Senate. So this is an area where, folks, we are not just holding our own. This is an area where we have fought and gotten a seat at the table, and we are making that seat at the table bigger and stronger than it has been. Now, this is the same seat at the table that was used to defeat portions of the Build Back Better bill that would have gutted self-directed IRAs. And this next thing that we've done is earlier this year, the Seller Finance Coalition wrote an op-ed that was circulated on Capitol Hill and was part of the chorus of voices saying, kill the Corporate Transparency Act and the beneficial ownership reporting for domestic companies. So we got invited to that party and we got a chance to be heard. And that's the value of having a seat at the table. That's the value of what National REIA has been doing in DC over the years. Rebecca, Charles Tassel, now Kevin, myself, working with Matt Coughlin, and other members of the Seller Finance Coalition. So that is important, and that is a sign that we are making progress. So that's, to me, that's spectacular news, you know? I mean, we are literally having the ability to go change a portion of Dodd-Frank and the Truth in Lending Act and make it to where we can do business with our own properties.
Little freedom is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still remember I got
Property
into this,
rights, you know.
this pesky thing called property rights. I remember having this conversation with one of the staffers of a New York City Congress member. And he just kind of looked at me like, man, that's pretty audacious to want to go from 3 to 24. And I looked at him, I said, it's our own property. Why can't we do what we want to with it? And he just was like, how do I respond to that? You got such a good point. And then then he backpedals and says, yeah, but we want to make sure you don't take advantage of anybody. I said, yeah, if we sell if we sell a house to somebody else and they don't pay, guess who gets hurt? I do, not you, not the government. He didn't have an answer. So anyhow, yeah.
Unfortunately, we are apparently not too big to fail, so therefore we won't be bailed out. So
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
there's that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
What
I
else
mean,
do we need to know, Jeff?
I'm going to give you something that probably you've never heard before. Kevin, back me up on this correct me if I'm wrong, back me up if I'm right. But right now we're going into a little bit of a season where Congress is not in session. That means your members of Congress are back at their district. That means that they might be having little public events. That means they might even be having a fundraiser or two. This is an excellent time to show up. Dig into your pocket for 150 to 250 bucks. You might be able to gain admission to a fundraiser where there might be only 40, 50 people there, and you're a member of Congress, and he or she's going to make a point to want to talk to everybody there. Boy, that'd be awesome for you to walk in there, say hi, tell them what you do, and just ask them and just tell them in advance, hey, I'm going to be reaching out to your staff about supporting the Affordable Home Ownership Access Act. Mention Congressman Barr, mention Congressman Gonzalez. And yeah, so just do that. I mean, the ability to go to your member of Congress when they're at home in the district, when they want to meet you, go take advantage of it. And I've got one other piece of amazing, happy, great news. The real estate investing industry and National REIA in particular has had a friend in Congress for a long time by the name of Henry Cuellar, Democrat out of South Texas. Henry has lived through some very severe unpleasantness. And in the last week, Henry was pardoned by President Trump. After the Department of Justice dismissed over half the charges against him several months ago, that the Biden administration had thrown at him, President Trump, without basically not knowing Henry personally, but at the behest of several other Republican members of Congress, pardoned Henry Cuellar. So right now, if somebody has the gold seal of approval hovering over their head, it'd be Henry Cuellar, who's been a friend of ours for a long time. So that's another really good piece of news for us.
He has been really helpful in coalition building on the issues that we put forward. So
many times. He was one of the guys that it was him and Vicente Gonzalez that helped us kill the Build Back Better bill and protect self-directed IRAs. Those two guys stood up against their caucus and said, that's got to come out. Yeah. I mean, everybody that has a self-directed IRA needs to send a thank you card to Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez. Yeah. Yep.
what else do we need to know? What's brewing?
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I mean, we got both good news and we got bad news. I mean, the economy is obviously shifting. I think that we're going to see rates come down. I saw an interesting question that I wish I had an answer to, but I don't. I think that tenants are tapped out. I think we can see that with storage rental payments. I think we can see that with auto loan and credit cards. I think we've got some fundamental issues here. I think we're going to retrench. And I think the landlord that knows how to manage, that knows how to take care of their people, I think is going to come out of the next 12 months much better off.
So I see Richard online. He had sent us a very good question about auto repossessions and what he had seen about what's happening in the European Union based on that, and how is that fallout looking in the U.S. So I did a little research on that. Europe's in a much different place than we are, and their auto industry is in a much different place. And when I say not a good one, I mean dismal. So they've got, between tariffs and low car sales and all of the things and repossessions, it is affecting them in much more significant ways than we are seeing here. Although there has been, Brad ran in Real Estate Investing Today in February of last year an article alerting all of us that it was already starting to be one of those pieces that fall. And if you look at predictors, that has always been one of the predictors that we're starting to have some major challenges in the consumer market. Credit card debt, auto repossessions. But what we've got on the flip side from Europe that they don't have as much is student loan debt. And that is mind blowing. And I'm going to ask, I think, and Brad, can you hop in? He just popped into the chat the credit card and auto loan delinquencies from last year. And we just ran fairly recently, the student loan information. Now is the time, if you are a landlord, to make sure that you're staying in contact with your residents. If you're renegotiating a lease, Jeff, I don't know what the legalities are, but I think when you sign again, you could re-pull a credit report.
Yes.
So all of the things to make sure that you have shored up your business and your relationship with your residents, it's time to do that. You're starting to see vacancies becoming more prevalent, and in the multifamily world, you're seeing concessions where we've not seen concessions in many years.
Oh, and the
My one
concessions are starting.
concern,
Yeah. I'm sorry, Rebecca. The concessions are starting to pile up down here in Florida. Oh my.
Ohio and Kentucky as well. And it's my concern is that a lot of investors have only been in this game after the big crisis. And other than the COVID blip, it's been straight up. I mean, we had that little bit of time and it was awful and painful, but it was relatively short compared to what most crises are in terms of bounce back. So my serious concern is that some people do not understand what it looks like for there to be a crunch and for these things to start being challenges. So for those of you that are group leaders, making sure that you're there to keep your members aware and to support them, we will certainly do the same through all of our communication channels as we see some of these things happening on the horizon.
Yeah. I mean, Rebecca, I want to echo that. And I want to remind everybody, whether it's a single family rental, duplex, triplex, larger multifamily, whatever it is, the building, the structure is not the asset. The asset is the tenant that you've selected, that you've interviewed, that you're building rapport with. That's the asset. That's what's paying. So make sure you're doing those things correctly.
Absolutely good advice. Alan Shankter also dropped over here in the chat. Check out these books, The Fourth Turning, which I also recommend. It's an amazing book. And The Storm Before the Calm, which I have not read, so I will immediately go do that. And he also mentions that remember that many people say there's an 18-year real estate cycle. So 2026 is 18 years since 2008. So there you go. And then Christy asked about finding the legislative meetings where to talk to your Congress people.
Sure. Okay. So let me walk you through how to do that because everything's a little different. So I'm just going to give it to you from a high level. First thing is open up your favorite internet browser and just, who is my member of Congress? Where do I live? Who's the member of Congress that represents where I live? And you should be able to find a house.gov website that'll help you punch in your zip code, and that should tell you. Sometimes they'll need your street number on your house, whatever.
Chat GPT, Grok, Gemini, Claude, or any of
Oh,
the others would
yep,
also be awesome ways to just
yep.
get directly to that information.
Or the link Brad just put in the chat of find your representative. Bang. Then once you know who your representative is, then run it, open up another tab, run the name of the representative and look for their reelection campaign. And then that'll take you to a separate website that's offhouse.gov. It'll take you to a separate website, and then you'll see who is their fundraiser and what events are coming, and you're there, bang. You can do it without having to make a phone call. You can do it without leaving the comfort of your home. You can do it in between sips of your hot chocolate or coffee or whatever, and then you can figure out which one makes the most sense to go to. And I'm going to tell you this, that this is a way to start meeting people. And it's important to do that. It really is. Yep.
Any other, Kevin, you've not chimed in. Anything else we need to be cognizant of? And you're on mute, sir.
The other side to that is if you're looking to get a meeting with them, not necessarily go to their fundraiser, but get a meeting with them if you happen to be in Washington, D.C., or you're planning to go for this purpose, or even an in-district meeting. That same Google search should be able to produce their scheduler uh, and or their chief of staff. And, those are two key people. Uh, Chiefs of staff pretty much have to know everything that's going on in the office. So don't be bashful about reaching out to them and asking for a meeting. They'll push it to the scheduler. And one thing that I do find is that a lot of the public searches for congressional staff, they don't really keep up to date. So you will often get somebody who's gone off to another job saying, I don't work there anymore, but here's who you contact.
Yeah, but the chief of staff is usually updated pretty quickly. So yeah, Kevin's given a great recommendation there. Yeah.
And it is also helpful to talk to that chief of staff. A lot of people don't particularly want to meet with staff. They want to meet directly with, the person. Sometimes you get more leverage by giving information to their staff people. You'd be surprised at how that works.
Oh yeah. Yep. Rebecca, I covered everything I can think of, but I like I said, ask me if there's anything else that ask me because my brain's a little cheesy Swiss cheese today. So yeah.
If anyone has other questions, you can drop them here. I will tell you there were I got several questions, which we will try to make sure that we cover. Guys, there's the replay of this will be going out. I will pull what Jeff said about subject to out of the transcription because a few of you missed it and it was very, very specific and very, very important. So I will carefully word that when I send it back out.
Let me be clear. This is being done by the lenders. This is a top-down focus on subject to. The lenders have hired a technology company that specializes in this kind of stuff to create an artificial intelligence data miner to go look for transactions where a property has been placed into a trust and a durable power of attorney has been put on record with the servicer. That's when all the major lenders, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, all of the major lenders are doing this. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'm not, I've kept it discreet here to where no one can figure out who my source is because I can't give up my source. I cannot give up my source.
No, no need to. Right now I'm trying to type and talk at the same time, so I apologize on both counts. So just to answer the questions in the chat, the search for that information is a national search, Jeff, as I'm understanding it, based on coming out from the lenders. So that's not a state specific issue. That is a national issue. Arizona is the first state that we're seeing to really hop on this issue again. But what happened in 2004, and I think it was North Carolina, maybe,
It was.
hopped on it, and then you saw other states start trying to do that. And we were able to come in so hot and heavy in North Carolina that it kind of shut everybody else down for a while. But I know what happens is once it starts, and that's pretty major the way they're, not just going after investors, but title companies and all the other things. So that means that's a huge target for them. If they're successful in making a lot of headway, then you may see other states pop on that. So we certainly are trying to stay ahead of that. And then the question about sharing the information, Mark, let me work with Jeff on specifically how you want to word that. If you're going to put it on social media, because I do want him to feel and his source to feel that they're completely protected, that's a warning, but that it's not able to be tied back and all.
And
Can we do that?
Alan asked a very good question, and I'm going to answer it with this. Just because a settlement statement has a line on it that says it's possible, that could be for a commercial transaction instead of a residential transaction. The lender is looking at it from this perspective. Somebody didn't do what they agreed to do. They agreed to stay in the home, make the payments. They agreed that if they transfer the ownership of the home, they were going to pay the loan off. They didn't. That's what they're going to go after.
And Jeff, there were two questions that somehow I missed along the way. One question was, I thought closing a sub-2 transaction in a trust was the advised way to do it. So just to go back, let me go back and repeat what Jeff's comment, or Jeff can repeat what Jeff's comment was about the two things that they're looking for. And then answering then that question, please.
So that is one way to do a subject to transaction. But many times I've seen people, due to a lack of education of what is a trust and how to use it, how to form it, who's the grantor, who's the trustee, who's the beneficiary, screw it all up. So but that's one of the things that they're looking for. Now, if you place your home into a trust and there's no power of attorney, they're probably not going to look at you. If you place a home into a trust and they ask questions and they see that the homeowner is the grantor and the trustee and the beneficiary of the trust, they're going to be done. They're not, and don't lie. Please don't lie. Please don't omit. Please do not deceive when you answer. If you get a deal where you're asked, you're fine. But it's when both have occurred, when both the property has been placed into a trust and a durable or limited durable power of attorney has been put on file with the servicer. That's the two things they're looking for. That triggers the investigation. And if rates will ease up, then I think it's a solution to a lot of people who are in subject to deals that have gone poorly already. And if rates do ease up, I think it's going to take some of the pressure off the lenders that are going after it. But then remember, a lot of investor loans, even some DSCR loans, some private loans, IRA loans, do allow a transfer with the lender's consent, subject to. So yeah, there's layers to this thing. So I'm just telling you at the top layer is Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae, etc. VA, FHA, they're all starting to look at these things and they're all going and pulling. Hey, did you put the house into trust? Hey, did you send a power of attorney to the servicer? Okay, then we're going to dig deeper.
I'm sorry that I'm trying to do multiple things at once. Did that answer Richard's question? That answered Alan's question about if rates go down. Did they answer Richard's question? What about all our investor loans on homes we still own and manage that we transferred into a trust for liability protection?
I'm not the least bit worried about that. I'm not the least bit worried about that because you can still prove that you're the owner of the entity that took out the loan. I've got no issues with that whatsoever.
And then
do not lose sleep on that one at all.
And then Alan followed up with, can they really pierce the trust?
Oh, absolutely. Because they're just going to go after and call the note. They're just going to call the note. And if you don't pay them,
they don't even have to pierce the trust. It's just,
yep.
Does it just it activates due on sale basically?
Yep.
And
they're going to look at it and say, you did not satisfactorily answer our questions because you're hiding behind the veil of the trust. Okay, fine, hide behind it. We're just going to call the note do, and we're going to accelerate under the terms of the security instrument, the mortgage or the deed of trust. That's what they'll do. Yeah.
Okay. Can we just get the seller to sign and not date the power of attorney and not send it to the lender?
It's not a valid power of attorney. You could get the seller to sign it, get it dated, get it witnessed, get it notarized, and don't send it to the lender because you shouldn't, you don't need to. But, everybody does their sub-twos deals differently. Yeah.
Okay. And then, hold on. Where can we find out about meetings for the Affordable Home Ownership Act?
You will hear about it from National REIA. You will hear about it from the Seller Finance Coalition, and you'll hear about it from me. Because when we have a major news announcement where we're sharing the press release that I've helped write on the reintroduction of the Affordable Home Ownership Access Act, everybody's going to know about it because that's when we're going to push everybody to voter voice, to contact your member, to ask your member to become on board as a co-sponsor of that bill.
And then we've got another question that I'm not sure I completely understand. Apparently, their landlord, they put a duplex in a trust and then moved out, but I don't understand the question side of that.
Well, if they still own the trust that owns the duplex, they're fine.
Okay.
But if they conveyed the beneficial ownership of the trust to somebody else and they're still making the payments on the duplex, I'm kind of scratching my head, and I wouldn't recommend doing that.
And then I think I missed Alan's subject to line 203 on the HUD.
I answered it.
Oh, you did.
I
Good.
answered it. Yeah.
And then, sorry, trying to keep up over here. Richard says, I've had a subject to loan called in years past, and it's not a good situation. So thanks for the warning for all of us.
Yeah.
And Jesse said, unfortunately, it's in an LLC. Can't win.
Oh, but here, let me go back, and I want to be clear. Many of us have been taught, many of us have done this, where we got a loan in our name, we put the property into a trust, and then we had the trust owned by an LLC that we own. I refinanced the loan with Huntington Bank in Cleveland, Ohio last year on that same structure. They had no issues whatsoever because they saw that it was still me behind these layers. And so they were good.
Thank you very much for that. I think that makes him feel much better. Or yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried, guys, to keep up with them all. If I've missed one, I'm going to give you just a second to repost it over here while we have the expert on the line. Jeff, thank you again so much for being kind enough to share your time and expertise with us. We really appreciate it for all that you've done for the industry for these years. It looks like we're really close to a big win, and I'm excited about continuing to work together on this resource center. I think it could be huge.
And there's going to be some people who are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. But I am so excited with the opportunity we have in the state of Ohio to really get to where the real true wholesalers can thrive, and all of the dumbos and won't learn how and don't want to go to REIAs and won't pay attention, they're just going to be pushed out of the business market. Yeah. I'm excited. You do it right and you're going to win. I'm excited.
And that's what we're here for, is to
Yeah.
try to make sure that you all understand how to do it right and stay on the right side of the law. So thank you so much for being here. I know December is a crazy busy time. Just wanted to make sure that we tried to get this in and let you all know kind of where we are with all the wild and somewhat wonderful things that are happening in the real estate market and real estate world. So have a great holiday season, and we will see you back here in January. Thanks, everyone.
Peace. Kevin, as always, it's a pleasure seeing you, man.